today we're going to be doing an arm dumbbell workout. Now, rather than trying to grow everything at once and everything growing really slowly, we're going to try and specialize into an arm dumbbell workout to increase the speed of that the muscles in your biceps, triceps, and deltoids. So trying to put a lot more effort into those muscles to grow them faster while we've maintained the other muscles in our other workout. So this is going to be a midweek workout, sorry, in between your other workouts, because these muscles, at least for me and for other people I know, recover much faster than the larger muscles of the chest, the back, the legs. So we can fit an arm workout in while those muscles are still recovering from being sore. Now, if that sounds good to you, hit that like button for me to help support the channel and let me know that you want more content like this. So we're going to be focusing in on the tricep first on this. So we're going to be doing a skull crusher exercise. Now, it sounds really intimidating. It's not actually nearly that bad. What we're going to do is use a bench. And if you don't have a bench, you could always do this laying down on your back. And then 2 dumbbells. Now I'm going to start with slightly lighter dumbbells to warm up with and then move to heavier dumbbells as we go. For this, you're going to lay down on your back, feet on the ground, and your hands right above your shoulders. So you want your elbows to be up in this. Now from here, you're going to, actually your hands can even be a little higher than your shoulders to keep that elbow up above your shoulder height. From here, you're gonna bend your elbows, bringing your hands behind your head or right to your ears, and then back out straight. So you wanna keep that tension on the tricep the whole time. Now, if you want to, you can slide up on the bench so you're right above, so you can actually go even a little below your head to maximize the tension on that tricep. Just careful you're not gonna bump into anything. And that's one advantage about having the bench. You can actually go into that negative to go all the way back, doing about 10 reps of these. Now, careful to not bump yourself in the head as you do this. I know it's called the skull crusher, but you don't wanna actually hit yourself in the head. So just be careful about that. You should feel that tension as you go back. We're just warming up the muscle though, so it shouldn't feel tiring yet. So start with 10 reps, then move to a heavier dumbbell. So I'm gonna move up 1 plate. And try again. So if you don't know what weight is gonna be right for you, start small, warm up, and then with a light weight, and then always add until you feel tired at 10. So going down, trying to keep those elbows in together, or not together, but so they're in line with your shoulders. And I think I can go a little heavier than that. So I'm going to add a half plate to that. Because it was not quite tiring enough at 10. Something I like about these adjustable dumbbells is they have the in-between plates to do half, it's 10 pounds per plate, and then 5 pounds for these in-between plates. So sometimes it's gonna be a little too much to go from 20 to 30, but you could go from 20 to 25. So we're trying for 25 pounds. If you found the weight that's challenging at 10, This is where we're gonna start counting sets. So we're aiming for 5 sets today. We're doing a lot of sets at this weight because we want to try and put a lot of extra growth into these muscles. The more sets you do in a week, the more growth you have in that muscle. So I'm trying to get 5 sets per workout of each muscle. So doing triceps, biceps. So bringing your elbows, going down and back out. You should feel that tension on the tricep. Bending down to the ears and back up. Now, if it's uncomfortable in your shoulder, you can drop your elbows down just a little bit, but you should still feel that tension on the tricep. And relax. So now I'm going to set the weights down for a minute. Give myself time for the muscle to relax and to recover from that. It builds up lactic acid in the muscle as we do exercise. So it takes a little bit of time for that to clear out. And we're going to try for 5 sets, so it's okay to take a minute or two between sets. What I really like about this sort of workout is, well, my muscles in my chest and back are still sore. I can still get a good workout in working muscles that recover much faster in my arms. And who doesn't want large arms? So I'm really trying to emphasize specializing into the arm muscles. So it would be like if you're trying to blow up balloons. Imagine your muscles are like a balloon. If you try and blow up 3 balloons at once, you're not really gonna fill any of those balloons that quickly. But if you just take one and try and blow it up one at a time, just working one muscle at a time, you can actually get a better pump into that muscle. You can fill up that balloon faster rather than dividing your time between the between multiple different muscles all at once. So especially with muscles like the chest and back that recover slower, it can take a lot more concerted effort into those muscles to get them to grow. As opposed to the arms, we can put a lot more volume into them and they recover faster because it's less systemic stress because they're smaller muscles. So less calorie demand, less protein demand, because smaller in surface area. Because when you work a muscle, your body needs nutrients to repair that muscle. And the smaller the muscle, the less repairs are needed, or less total nutrients are required. Trying for 10 reps these skull crushers. And 10. Now you should feel that in the back of your arm. Right back in here. This is the tricep muscle that actually goes from your elbow all the way up and attaches into your shoulder blade for what's called the long head of the tricep. I'm just gonna set these down. So that was 2 sets. We're trying for a total of 5 sets today, so we're almost halfway for this muscle. So the skull crusher, doing it like this, keeping that elbow above the shoulder actually lengthens that muscle at its longest part, that long head of the tricep. And that's what's going to add tension into this exercise, where you're getting the full range of that muscle. rather than just the little pieces down here by the elbow. So there was actually a study done on it where they found the elbow height increase, so lifting the elbow up, really added to the muscle hypertrophy or muscle size increase of the exercises for the tricep. So that's why skull crushers up above, where your elbow is up above your shoulder, really adds to that muscle building aspect of this exercise. So it does make it harder, but harder in a good way. If you think about it, you wouldn't want a muscle where only 2/3 of the muscle was growing to its maximum. You would want all the muscle to be growing as much as possible. That's why we're doing the skull crusher this way, really keeping those elbows up. So don't want my elbows down here where I'm doing sort of like this. I want my elbows up where I'm really lengthening that long head of the tricep. That long part of the tricep that goes all the way to your shoulder. See how my elbows stay up above my shoulder? They're not dropping down. Oh man, I'm gonna need a second. Still doing 10. I'm just giving my body a second to clear out that. Thanks. Oh gosh, I didn't wait quite long enough between sets. So I did 7, I'm gonna do 3 more real quick. Just taking 30 seconds and then going right back into it. For set number 3. Oh, gosh. And 10. That right arm is just giving out on me much faster, which is funny because I'm right-handed. I'm just gonna take a minute. So all of these exercises we're doing today are going to be lengthened, doing full length muscle action. So full length muscle action. So it's working on the muscle at its full length, because that's where you get the most hypertrophy for muscles that we've tested so far. It might not be true in all muscles, but as far as we can tell, the muscles that we've tested for in the calf, that I've been reading, they've tested, I believe, the curl and the calf raise and found that lengthening those muscles really help with hypertrophy. So that's why I'm trying to take that principle and apply it to the muscles I'm working. And personally, I feel a difference in how fast my muscle is growing and where I can actually feel that muscle contracting against that load. So that was the 3rd set. I'm going to try for 5 sets. We'll see if I can actually get through that today. I can actually feel that tricep expanded under the skin. Just taking a minute between sets. We're going to go for skull crushers. We're trying for 5 sets in total. We'll see if we get through all 5. Trying to do that full length to really hit the full length of that tricep. Yeah. For me, I tended to try and do all muscles at once. Just every workout, do all muscles, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the toll that takes on your entire body meant that I have not seen the maximum growth I could in each muscle, because I'm only going to grow as much as my lowest common denominator, or the muscle that holds me back the most. Because if I'm only working out when I can work out all muscles. Some muscles can actually grow more than that, like the muscles in the arms. That's why I'm trying to specialize a little bit more now, really trying to grow my arms faster, because I think that I could get more out of my arms than I've been doing. So if you're like that and like me and want to see more content like this, growing specifically arms, going for that, hit that like button for me. It lets me know that you want more of this content, and that it also helps support the channel. So thank you so much. It's hard to think a little bit and talk while working out. Sometimes if I misspeak, it's just because I'm a little tired, or if I stutter, just because this is real. These are real weights, so we're working out together. And that's what I really want to do, is inspire people to work together to help you in any way I can to do that, because I think it's so important. We all build muscle, get stronger, and stay healthy. So we're going into a skull crusher. You're welcome to grab weights to do this with me, or incorporate it into your own workout. So I'm trying to have the dumbbells right over the top, right just above my shoulder. So my elbows are up above my shoulder, bending down to the ears, and then back out straight. Trying for 10 reps. Nine, wow. And 10. Oh. Hey, B2, how are you doing? Good to see you. Moment, I've got something in front of my screen. There we go. I'm doing well. I'm working on doing a specialized exercise for the arms. So today we're just doing muscles in the tricep, bicep, and some of the shoulder. So, because chest and back for me is still sore, but I can still get a little bit more out of my arms because they're already recovered, ready to go. So I'm doing a midweek skull crushers, and we're gonna do some bicep later. Hey, you did skull crushers today too? Great, that's awesome. Proud of you. Just finished set number 3. We're seeing about 5 sets, but that might be a little bit too much. We're starting it a little ambitious maybe. We'll see how it is at number 4, because I'm already starting to feel a little bit of fatigue in this, which is good. That means we're growing. So proud of you though that you're staying up, continuing to work out. That's awesome. Right now, split wise, I'm doing full body, trying to do arms and shoulders, and then full body again. So I find for my schedule, that's what I can fit in my schedule. How about you? What did you do what did you do with your skull crushers? Do 3 sets of skull crushers, overhead extensions, and kickbacks. Wow, so you had a real tricep day. For people who want to know what he's talking about, so he did the skull crushers like what we're doing here. He did overhead extensions, which are like this, where you're up overhead. And then he also did a tricep kickback, which is here and going out to the back. Now, the advantage of the tricep kickback is it targets more of those other 2 heads of the tricep that are more by the elbow. It doesn't hit as much of this long head of the tricep, but as a tertiary exercise or a third exercise, like what B2 is doing, that can be fine because your long head of the tricep has already gotten a lot of great work in, and it lets you really get every little bit out of those last 2 heads of the tricep. And chest too, did bench and incline press. Oh wow. So sometimes Now, if you only do one exercise, skull crusher is a great one to do. Or for chest, incline press actually hits the entire chest with an emphasis on the upper chest. So it gets an additional bit of chest in on that upper chest muscle. The flat bench hits still the whole chest, but not as much of that upper chest as that incline press does. So it can, there's nothing wrong with doing both. If I had to pick one, I do like the incline press because it hits that upper chest a little bit more. But that's awesome, you're getting stuff done. So it sounds like you had a lot of did a sort of pushing day. Some people like to break apart their workouts into a push day, which is chest and tricep and anterior deltoid, front of the shoulder. And then a pulling day, which is bicep, lats, traps, and posterior deltoid, or the back of the shoulder. So it's all what works well for you. Personally, I find that it's hard to fit that into my schedule. Done as heavy as 78 kilograms on the bench press, and my body weight is almost 78 kilograms. Wow, that's awesome. Good for you. So is that your 1 rep max, or is that with reps? Really want to get to 100 kilograms within this year. I don't know if that's possible. Let's see. So if you're adding, let's say 5% per week. I can't do that mental math in my head at the moment. I would do it little by little up. So don't try and go, like 5 kilograms at a time. Try and add like 2 kilograms if you can do like partial plates each week. And let's see, so if you're doing 2 kilograms a week and you got 22 plus deloads, that might be possible, but that's probably, I would ease into it. Just take it 1 or 2 kilograms at a time and adding up. 78 kilograms for 7 reps. Very nice, very nice. So that's probably possible. Ambitious. I'm glad that you've set that as your goal. So we've talked for a little bit. I think my arms are ready to go, so I'm gonna try for another set. Especially if you're going for strength, you wanna go for those go heavy weights, lower reps, like what you're doing. That 7 reps is a good place to shoot for. So I'm shooting for 10 because I'm trying to build the muscle size at the moment. Eight. 9. And 10. So on this, even though at number 10, couldn't quite get back up to straight, well, all I did is drop my elbows a little bit down to take that tension off. Because the important part is when I'm bending my elbows, there's high tension. That's this part of the movement. I want my elbow up. If I can't quite get the weight out to straight though, I can always drop my elbow a little bit down to relieve that tension slightly. I'm really going for muscle building, but I'd love to lift 100 kilograms off my chest more than once. That would be something. Hey, so those are both great goals. One thing I would say is I would prioritize one of those 2 goals at the moment. So if you want to go for 100 kilograms, aim for that 100 kilogram. and then don't worry about muscle building quite as much. Or focus on muscle building first, get it to where you want it to be. Then as you're doing that, you can gradually increase in the weight, but if you're trying to chase two goals, it can really slow you down at reaching both. So I'd prioritize one, get to that goal, and then prioritize the other. Because for muscle building, you want higher reps. Somewhere around 10 plus is a good number to shoot for. For strength, you want to do low reps, and it's actually challenging different systems in your body the more specialized you get. So they're both good goals, and I really commend you for having them. That's such a good thing to do, to where you know where you're aiming for, because otherwise, how are you going to hit that goal? But if you are aiming for two goals, it can slow down both a little bit. So that's why I would recommend, they're close-ish in what you're prioritizing. So you might be able to get both, grow towards both at the same time. Sorry, I'm trying to talk and let me set these down because I'm balancing them on my knees. I don't really stress on it. I'm patient with my workout logs. Like, I won't increase certain weights on an exercise unless I can do 10 reps confidently. Good, that's it. So you're not just bumping it up recklessly. That's good. So B2 is keeping track of what weights he's at and making sure he's doing it with good technique under control. That's excellent. So until I can do 10 good reps of 78 kilograms, I'll go to 80 to 84. I would go to 80. 84 is that's a pretty big jump. Just, that's a whole nother plate on it, right? For anyone, let's see, 84 is like 170-ish, I think. It's like 170, 175, right? Trying to do math in my head on camera. It never quite works out correctly. I think it's somewhere around there. So the difference between 78 and 84 is like 15 pounds. And that's a pretty big jump. So I would shoot for more that 80, get 10 good reps of that. If that feels good, then the next week, try for 81 or 82. Just gradually bump that up little by little. All right, last set of skull crushers. I don't know why my right arm feels it way more than my left. Let's stand up just a minute. Yeah, for me, I'm trying to prioritize into the arm muscles. If you're trying to get your bench press, I'd really emphasize that bench, trying to get multiple sets in like three sets per workout, trying to get heavy sets in around 10 reps. I'd aim for lower reps, so don't try and do 12, 15 reps. Try and go heavy reps, really high effort, good leg drive with it. Just okay. Last set of skull crushers. So we're trying to get everything we can out of that tricep for muscle building. Yeah, the heavier you go on exercises, usually the more specialized you have to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope. That's 8. Let me just take a moment and then try for 2 more. Man, that's just killing me, or it's really tiring me out. Nope, nope. I'm stopping there. We're on set number 5 and got 8 reps. I feel like I can't control the weight. So because of that, I'm stopping because I've gotten everything I can out of that muscle. Yeah, okay. Hang on a moment. If I do 3 sets for bench, with the last set being the heaviest and the first set being the least, 10 kilograms less than the heavier set, so you pyramid up. That's totally a fine way of doing it. That's excellent. That way I do more controlled reps initially, and then as the weight decreases, I decrease the reps, but never less than 8 or 10. Okay, that's fine. That is a fine place to be, sort of starting with 10 and then going down to 8. So you could even go as low as 3, but usually that means you're having to do really heavy reps. So 8 is totally fine. 8 is totally fine. So usually strength training, which is maximum force produced, so trying to just do really heavy, is anywhere between 3 and I believe 10. And so anywhere in that range is totally fine, just as long as you are approaching that failure point. Okay, I'm gonna shift the weights down for a moment because we're now gonna work into bicep. Now, bicep, I found that to get that tension in that muscle, it really helps to do a bench bicep curl. So I like the preacher curl, and I like the incline bench or the bench curl. Let me move the bench just a little bit so you can see my hands. Okay. So for this, gonna start here. Gotta move this just a little bit. So I'm gonna start here, and then I'm going to drop my hands down to the sides. Can't really see that, can you? Just switch the camera on this a little bit. So we're playing around with it. We're getting there. Love the bench bicep curl, insane stretch on the long head, exactly. So there's 2 parts of the muscle. The long head, which goes all the way up to the shoulder, and the short head in here. And you get this really profound stretch through those pieces of the muscle that go up into the shoulder. So long head and short head, actually I believe both attach above the shoulder. I'll have to look that up. But they're what are called bi-articulating, meaning they affect the shoulder joint and the elbow joint. So we're stretching across both. So for this, you're gonna lay down on your back, drop your hands down to the ground, and then curl up to the front. So I'm starting with 10 pounds as a warm up, and then I'll add weight till it's challenging at 10. So for this one, you don't need a very heavy dumbbell for it to become challenging. So I'm just gonna add a half plate. And do another set. So it's laying down on your back, dropping the dumbbells down to the ground, and then curling up. And 10. Now it's important to go all the way down to the ground to get that full length of the muscle. That's where you're gonna see that growth the most, is when the muscle is most lengthened. Now, these might look easy, give it a try. It's actually a lot harder than it looks. So we're trying for another 4 sets of those, because if we can get 5 sets per workout, that'll get us to 15 sets overall in a week, which for me, that's a lot of sets. Now, if you've been doing this a while, you might be able to get more than 15 sets. Or if you're just starting, you might start a little bit less and start at more like 10 sets in a week. So 3 sets, 3 times a week. B2S, what do you call it when there is like a collarbone, like a hollow spot right below your brachialis? When there's a hollow spot right below your brachialis. So the brachialis runs underneath in here. So you're saying there's sort of a hollow spot underneath your arm. Oh, especially above your elbow, like right in here. So if you're really skinny and if your tendon is long, so depending on the length of your tendon, you might have a little bit of like a gap right here. I don't really have it in my arm. You can see the ridge where that is, but depending on how long that tendon is, like if you can put two or 3 fingers, here, let me do it this way. So if you can here sort of put 2 fingers, or if it's 3 fingers before you hit the muscle belly, you can know your tendon's a little longer. Yeah, right there. So that sometimes can just be genetically how long that tendon is until the muscle starts. Or if you've ever damaged that tendon, it can lengthen right in here. So I think what you're describing, I don't have. My muscle goes to about there, so I can do about a finger length. It's sort of a finger length and a half-ish between the muscle and where my tendon is. So I have a relatively shorter tendon right here. It goes almost all the way to my arm. So if your tendon's a little longer, you might see a little bit of a divot right there. Now it's important, if that is increasing, if it feels like that's moving up, you might actually have some damage to the tendon. I go get that checked out, seek someone who can medically diagnose that. You can put 3, no, it's fine. It's just genetically, that's how you are. Now you might have to work harder to fill out your arms because of that. But honestly, we all have genetic strong points and genetic weak points. For me, genetically, for instance, I tend to have a little bit more weight here and almost none on my legs. So because of that, I have to work harder to get a 6-pack. That's just the nature of your genetics. It's not meaning that anything's wrong with you. It's just might take a little bit more effort to get to where you want to be. And there's nothing wrong with having a slightly longer tendon. Like, yeah, I just really want to encourage you, just stick with it. You look totally fine no matter how long that tendon is. Now, it might make it a little easier or harder to get the arms size that you want. How do I measure it? Like, do I flex my elbow almost all the way or check at a 90 degree? I would do like a 90 degree and see how many you can feel in there. If you're flexing all the way, you can probably get more fingers in. It's not a absolute definition. It's just sort of giving a ballpark of, okay, how many fingers in there? Does it seem especially long or especially short? So it's just giving you a ballpark idea of about how long that tendon is, okay? It's not a medical diagnosis of anything. It is just a rough estimate of, oh, okay, that might be that you have a little bit of a longer tendon there. That's where you're seeing a little bit more of a gap. All right, going into, I think this is the second set of bicep curl. So laying on your back, dropping the hands down all the way to the ground, then curling up. Nine, last one, 10. Oh, that's just unlucky. Do you know what? All of us, there's some things we're lucky in and some things we're a little weaker in. And sometimes things that seem like our minus actually end up being a strength. Sometimes when it's harder for us to get an exercise, we learn that exercise better. And sometimes, I know some things that are easy, sometimes we don't learn as well too. So it's harder for us to actually master it because it hasn't challenged us. You know, this might sound funny, but a lot of people want to be tall. I'm 6'1", I'm pretty tall, and I always wanted to be smaller. So I would work out as hard, or I didn't do workouts to build muscle because I always wanted to be smaller because I always felt so huge. And it took a long time to actually get over that and to now start building muscle, but all through my teens, I lost a lot of good years of muscle building because I kept on trying to shrink down, to eat very little, to not. And that, I know so many people want to be in my position of, oh, I want to be taller, I want to be, but being tall was like, oh, I want to be shorter. And which is so counterproductive. It's, you have the body you have, and that's totally fine. Now, we can always work to better ourselves, and that's so important and that's good to do, but also not beating yourself up for the things you can't control. Hey, you're 6'1" too, excellent. So that's pretty uncommon. Very cool. Then it's hard to find clothes that fit, right? Like, it's not as common to be 6'1". Is there a way to figure out if you have a smaller wrist than it should be? So I have heard that for your wrist, if you can touch your fingers together, it's about average. Now this is just anecdotal, that the closer your fingers are together, the smaller your wrist. So if your fingers can overlap, so if you're here, relative, see how my fingers can't quite touch? So I have large wrists relative to my hand size. Uh-oh, did I lose connection? Okay, looks like we're back. So trying to touch your finger together better rather than finding clothes that fit. I hear ya. So it's hard to find clothes in which I look better rather than clothes that fit. Yeah. For me, it's hard to find shirts that are long enough. A lot of them are up here at my waistline, so if I try and lift my arms, because I'm kind of long torsoed. So going back to the workout though, let's keep on going. I'm trying to get it built up in arms as well, so that it is hard to I'm trying to build up my arms so they fill out the sleeves a little bit more. I did know a guy back in school when I was my degree is in exercise science, and one of the guys in school with me was a bodybuilder. And so he came in one day and he had instead of the intern work polo that we had, he had a different polo because he had actually busted the sleeves getting dressed. So his arms were so big, they actually popped the seams on the sleeve. So your middle finger just covers your thumbnail. So yeah, that means relative to your hand size, your wrists are smaller. All right, so going into set number 3, trying for 5 sets. Going all the way to the ground and then up. So the most important thing is going down to that ground. Nine. And 10. Oh. Man. So that's set number 3. If you feel your arms right now doing the workout, they should be pumped up where you can feel that they're bigger, because they're full of blood. For me, I have my hands, my palm size relative to my finger length I have a large palm but shorter fingers. So for grip exercises, I find it's harder to do things like pull-ups because my fingers are shorter relative to the whole hand size. So I don't get really a good latching on it where my fingers are like this. They're sort of like that on the pull-up bar. So it's definitely a lot harder on my grip strength for that exercise. So everyone has their own things. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, or things that are more or less difficult for them. Interesting thing about gorillas, one of the reasons they're so much stronger in their biceps is where their biceps tendon attaches is actually lower down on their arm. So that means it's right about here. So they can't actually fully straighten their elbow. We can do this. They can only go to about here. But in this range, they have much better leverage. That's why they're so much stronger. And why they walk around sort of like this is because their biceps tendon attaches lower into that elbow to give them better leverage. So all of us have those little things where genetically my tendon might be a little bit shifted one way or the other to give more mechanical advantage than others. Fingers are relatively longer, but they're not skinny like most guys with the same physique as me. Fingers are kind of muscular looking, very, very lightly, that is. So you've got sort of a little bit thicker fingers relative. I have kind of thick fingers for my hand size as well. But I have kind of larger palms, thicker fingers, but not quite as long on the fingers. Okay, going into set number 4. Yeah, there's not really exercises to make your hands look that much different. I mean, they will a little bit, but it's more they'll look different because they're all calloused. You do have muscles in your hands, but a lot of it is muscles in your forearms for your grip strength. And 10. Yeah, think about it. You got suspended for slapping a junior in high school? Oh no, that's not good. Not good that you slapped him, I mean. Don't realize my hands were heavy and slapped at the time. I stopped to apologize right after, but I didn't expect that. Did not expect that from me. Yeah, it's... Yeah, it's easy to let your emotions get away from you, but it's definitely important to not just hit people, for sure. I know, so for me, I trained in martial arts, and I was training, doing sparring with someone doing boxing with gloves and headgear and everything. And I connected with a backhand or with a power hit right to his jaw and accidentally knocked him out. I talked to him the next day. He's like, I don't remember anything else that happened that night. Just somehow he got home, but has no memory of doing that after sparring. And that for me just was, I wasn't trying to hurt him. We were just sparring, training, but accidentally just hit that one connected spot right on the jaw and knocked him out. Grandfather told you that your arms and hands were heavy when you were born. Gotcha. So you were big then. So you're 6'1" now, you have heavy hands and arms. So you must have been large, or maybe were you large when you were born and got larger as you grew up? I know for me that was true. I was large as a child and then also matured, hit my growth spurt early. So I've always been big. And it's so funny, isn't it funny that when we're big, we want to be small, when we're small, we want to be big? Took me a little bit of time to get over that, and now I'm focused more on the health aspect of it, trying to maintain healthy muscle for the rest of my life. And I mean, obviously now I want to build muscle, because the more muscle I can build now, the more I can maintain as we continue on, because we all lose muscle as we age. But if we can build up more and more muscle younger, it will always be easier to build muscle when you're younger than it was as you age, just genetically. I'm guessing my bone density does the job and that's why they're heavy. It could be. Could be the amount of muscle mass and tissue you were born with too is higher as well. I don't know the number off the top of my head for bone density and how much per pound, but I don't think bone is especially high in the total percentage of body weight. I don't remember that off the top of my head though. So yeah, it could be. And that's something really good to have, is higher bone density. And that's something also weightlifting can help with, is we're putting stress on the bone. And there's something called Wolff's Law, which is bone grows on the time averaged forces put upon it. So the more stress we put on bone, the more it builds up that bone. So if you look at someone like an astronaut, they have very little gravity on bone, so they actually lose bone density. Now the opposite of that is putting extra stress on bone by putting weights and heavy lifting on bone actually builds up that bone structure. So that's what we want. That's one of the benefits of doing weightlifting or resistance training, is building up those bones. All right, last set of bicep curl. Now, if you're born with good and strong bones, that's also great. Some of us are more genetically prone to weaker bones or stronger bones, but any of us adding some resistance training can help grow what you already have, or maintain what you already have. At some point I have a skinny friend, malnourished, and his body weight is quite a lot more than it should be, looks like. Doctors say he has good, strong bones. So that is true. Sometimes when you are old, if you are really heavy or overweight, your bones have to bear that weight. It's not good for a lot of systems like your heart, and it definitely would be, I would recommend to look at reducing that weight if he's obese or overweight. But it can be really beneficial for your bones because you're having to put all that extra stress on the bones. So if you work to maintain that while losing the weight, then your bones don't know the difference. It's just weight is weight, whether it's body weight or dumbbells, barbells, things like that. Putting stress on your bones can help maintain healthy bones. Now, I wouldn't recommend that path for actually getting strong bones. I would use external weights rather than internal weights, because that puts internal weight puts a lot of extra stress on your heart, and you can have what's called your left ventricle, or the left chamber of your heart, can have a thickening of that ventricle wall without it gets sort of impacted. It's not good for your heart because you're not getting the blood flow filling the heart. It's just having to really push against sort of a half empty heart. It's not good for you. A lot of reasons being overweight is not really beneficial for you, but bone health can be good, because it's forcing you to do resistance training. But why not just do resistance training without the extra weight? I know for me, I feel a lot better when I'm not really heavy. At my heaviest, I was 265 pounds, and that was during college when I was under a lot of stress and not having a whole lot of time to work out in my freshman year because I was busy studying. And then I decided I'm gonna just start walking around campus, do a lot more walking, a lot more movement, and not eat at the cafeteria. I'm gonna start packing lunches. And that's what really helped me get my weight under control and drop back down to 220 or 210. So I started packing lunches where I did a lot of whole grain pita breads, a little bit of tomato and cheese on that to make sort of a pita pizza. And even though, pizza, not classically a really health food, I made it homemade so I could control what was on it. I didn't put a whole ton of cheese, so it didn't have a ton of extra calories, where it was a lot of actually healthy vegetables and whole grains. So I found that helped me drop weight because I was eating not as much as I would eat if I got the cafeteria servings at college. All right, so that was 5 sets of bicep. Now we're going to do some deltoid. Now the deltoid muscle runs right across here, so we're going to be doing this one arm at a time. Drink lots of milk for strong bones and stuff. That's good. So you're getting calcium, I think vitamin D usually is in milk. A lot of good things in milk. I actually heard that whole milk is making a comeback because even though it has more fat, it has a lot more vitamins and minerals in it along with that fat. So it tends to be more satiating, where it makes you feel fuller for longer. So for the deltoid, we're gonna do a lateral raise, but we're gonna do a leaning lateral raise to keep that tension on the deltoid the whole time. So I'm leaning away from my arm, lifting 10 times out to the side. Now I personally am going up above my head level. If it's uncomfortable for you, only go to your shoulder level. Depends on how your shoulder is built. For me, it's not uncomfortable on my shoulder to lift up. I'm gonna do the same number on the other side. I'm keeping my thumb pointed straight towards the front. So B2 says I've been drinking cow milk every single day or like for more than a decade. So you're probably getting a lot of good calcium. Chocolate milk or just plain soy milk never gets old. So yeah, chocolate milk can be more calories in. So definitely have to watch out how much you're drinking of it. But I don't think it's a bad thing as long as you're keeping your calories in check. So nothing wrong with chocolate milk. Personally, I'm allergic to soy, so I don't really want to comment on soy milk because I just have a very bad experience with it. I'll get red dots up and down my arms and just not feel very good for a couple days. So when I do this exercise, I lean just a little bit more and my arms are not fully flared out. Fully flared out straight, my elbow is just slightly bent. Oh, okay, so you're doing like this. So you can do this like that, where it's a little bent. But the thing is, if you look at my arm like this, the lever is from here all the way down to my arm. So I've got a lever of my full arm length. If I bend my arm, I've just shortened my lever to this. So I can do much heavier weights and not feel it in my shoulder by bending that elbow. Now, if I'm straight armed, I can do very light weights and have a much larger multiplier of that lever arm. So it would be like holding something here, very easy to stop it from tipping. Holding it here, much more energy to stop it from tipping over because it's a larger lever arm. So this would be like having the bent arm. Nothing wrong with that, just you're gonna need to put a heavier thing at the end to stop it from, to keep the same resistance, because I've reduced the lever arm by half. So I would say if you can lean over more, like do this on an incline bench, that's totally awesome, though that will always be better. And nothing is wrong with the other way of doing it. I just find it's more effective for me to do straight armed. And I find that when I bend my elbow, I get a little bit more of that anterior deltoid really limiting the exercise rather than that middle deltoid working quite as hard. I have like a 150-degree angle, so a very slight bend. Oh, so you're saying just like this? So that's fine. You don't have to completely lock your elbow. I do just ever so slight of a bend to it. The straighter your elbow, the longer that lever arm though. So this, you might have taken off 5%. This, you've taken off like 50%. So that's totally fine. Just adjust the dumbbell accordingly so it's still challenging. I personally like to go a lighter dumbbell at a full length. Yeah, nothing's wrong with doing it that way. Just as long as you're aware of the difference that's making in how long that lever arm is. Just that slight bend will take off a few pounds. It's not exactly 5%. I'm just guesstimating, just so you know. All right, going for a few more sets. That was set number 1. The first one was a warm-up. This is set number 2. Now, the closer to horizontal I can be, the more stretch I'm putting on that muscle in the lowest position, which is probably more hypertrophic or muscle building. Oh. So lift slightly heavier. It's not about the heaviness of the dumbbell, it's the amount of tension on the muscle. So by straightening my arm, I can increase that tension. By adding weight to the dumbbell, I can increase that tension. So a combination of the two straighter your arm, the heavier the dumbbell, the more tension across that muscle. That's also what leaning does, is adding tension to the muscle down at this bottom half of the movement. And that was set number 2. So going for 3 more sets and then we'll call it a day. Think about it, these are small muscles run right across here. So they're not very large, so we can work them out and they can recover in time for another workout by Friday. Ooh. So if you're liking this workout and want to see more, you can hit that like button for me to help support the channel. So thank you so much. If you want to see more workouts like these, I host them on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Hope to see you there. Can you tell a good exercise for the rear delt? Trying to do rear delt flies with lighter weight, but I can't really feel the muscle. It's like it's hitting the front delt in a weird way. So rear delt flies being like this. Are you feeling a stretching feeling in the front delt? Because it might be that that's actually limiting you. What you can do, if you have a resistance band, I really like these actually for this exercise, is you can pull apart and do rear delt flies. Wow, this is weird to look at the mirror and let me, like this. So starting here, pulling out and then back. So you want to get a resistance band where the loop is creating tension here. So, and then, but where you can actually pull it apart. So that's one way you could do rear delts. Rear delts do get worked in a row exercise. So if you're doing a sort of pull exercise, like with cables or a band, going here, pulling to the back, that will get the rear delt. You also will get some in the tricep kickback, but since it's more isometric, where the muscle's not changing in length, usually is a little less muscle building for that rear deltoid. I personally really like a T exercise where you're laying on your stomach So it's laying on your stomach, going here, pinching your shoulder blades together, pointing your thumbs up towards the ceiling. So you can do this with body weight. So you're sort of doing that up to the side. You can do it with body weight, or you can do it holding onto dumbbells, and that really will hit that rear deltoid as well as the muscles behind your shoulder and those retractors. Because the rear deltoid pulls the arm this way. So anything that pulls it back, so a row or any sort of cable, reverse cable fly, things like that. So it pulls the shoulder into extension this way. Seems like a better variation? That's awesome. So yeah, let me know how that goes. Sometimes what works for one person doesn't work for everyone. there's not one best exercise that will work. It's finding the exercise variation that really you can feel effectively. So for some people, they feel their rear deltoids with rows or with a face pull. But I find that a lot of people can feel it with the T exercise, pulling to the back. So I find that's a really common exercise to really target that posterior deltoid. But as long as it's, you can feel it and you feel that tension in that muscle, that's the important part. Same thing with this lateral raise. Should feel that in that deltoid muscle. So we're working more that middle deltoid. You have 3 deltoids. You have a front, a back, and a middle. The middle one runs right over the top of your shoulder right here. You could even do just a swing back with a straight arm for the posterior deltoid, but I personally find that the T is a little easier to isolate that back of the shoulder. And 10. Wow. So that was 3 sets, I think. We'll see if I can get to 5. We're right at an hour. Those are taking a lot out of me though. We'll try and get 2 more. I'm just gonna have to rest a little bit longer between because this is starting to really wear out quickly. It's always the hardest part of the workout, but I saved small muscles for the end of the workout. Biceps and triceps are a little bit bigger. I saved the deltoids for the end because systemically through my, my heart and all my system, they take less energy because they're smaller muscles. But I still want to grow them, so that's why I like to save them a little bit for the end. You always train shoulders with legs. Hey, that's awesome. I'm trying to do legs on Monday and Friday. I do a little bit of pushing and pulling as well for maintenance. If you find a good split that fits for you though, that's awesome. It's great because most leg exercises are completely independent of shoulder, so you can train them effectively both together. And there's no wrong answers, which is awesome. It's actually really freeing in what you can do at the gym, more than limiting. The biggest limiter is just fatigue. All right, going into set number 4. Oh. 3, 4, 5, 6, trying to get to 10, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Oh. How old am I, if you don't mind asking? I don't mind. I am 38. So, I am at a point where I really need to maintain muscle mass and work hard to build and grow muscle. Usually above 35, it's harder to grow muscle. Still possible, but harder to really grow more. But just as important at above 30. I had a client who was a World War II veteran, who was 84, and he went from not being able to walk around, having to go around with a walker or a wheelchair, to then we re-strengthened his legs. So even at 80, he built up muscle in his legs, got stronger, and went from not being able to walk around to walking a mile without any cane or anything. You were really jacked and shredded in your prime, I reckon. So I trained a lot in martial arts and high intensity interval training. I was definitely fast. People didn't realize how quick I could move. Because I saw I was 6'1", I'm not a small person, but I trained a lot for speed, where I caught people off guard back in my teens because I could move really quickly in boxing and I trained a lot in boxing, taekwondo, and mixed martial arts. So a lot of people didn't realize how fast I could move. I used to be able to do handstand push-ups with a clap, where we would do handstands, push up down, or do a push up and then up, clap, and then catch. But haven't been able to do those. It took a lot of training to get to that point. I would say that I didn't do as much hypertrophy training as I would have liked. I did a lot more speed training and high intensity interval training, which is good. I could have built up more muscle mass. I just was more trying to stay small and fast. And just really the nature of it is I needed to probably do a bit more size training, high volume sets. If I had to go back and change something, that's what I would have done. I could at the time. I can't anymore. I could though at the time, but that was when I was training 6 days a week. I was training Monday through Saturday. Which is a lot of training. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that be the ideal, but that was back when I was in high school and I had more time. All right, one more set, last set. Yeah, I used to be able to do a lot more. I was on the demonstration team in Taekwondo. So we did all the fancy stuff, like jump kicks, front flips, things like that. So back in my prime, that's what I was doing. We actually had, I was taller, so I did a lot of the launching. So what would happen is, my friend in the demo team would run and then step on my shoulder, and then I would push him up into the air. So it would launch him up, 10 feet up into the air to kick and break a board. Because I was large enough to be able to do that. Oh. I started training for martial arts when I was 8 and trained until I was 25. So a lot of my training specialized in being fast and light. So I didn't do a lot of hypertrophy training for muscle size at the time. I was pretty strong in my legs especially, but I didn't do as much upper body work in martial arts. And I wish I had done more of that back then. At my lightest though, I was 170. I have a heavyweight bag that I want to hang up someday, but right now there's not really room to do that, so it's in storage. But maybe if I have a different space, I'll do that again. Yeah, it was much more calisthenics. We did a lot of bodyweight squats, some push-ups, a lot of more ballistic movements, like where we would go squats, jump up and then tap, things like that. And then a lot of kick training where you would actually like kick, hold out, and hold it. I still have some of that, but not as much as I used to. And then a lot of speed work on punching bags, kicking bags, things like that. So, yeah, it's a different sort of training. It's good. It's just now I'm adding more resistance training into my work because I want to increase that muscle size and muscle health, especially my shoulders. And I found that it's very hard on your joints. In training, I actually tore a bone in my knee because I was putting so much stress in my knees to speed up and overtraining my knee a bit. So now I'm working more at maintaining healthy joints and muscles, and also trying to get a little bit larger because the more muscle size I can build, the more I can maintain that healthy muscle for a long period of time, where if I lose a little muscle, there's still a lot of muscle left. So yeah, I did more calisthenics, done less of that recently. I'm doing more resistance training. I haven't gotten to some of the calisthenics that I know some people do on YouTube. They're very impressive, where they do like plank stands, V-sits, all these really intricate calisthenics movements. My calisthenics training focused more into martial arts, doing kicks, doing sparring and demonstration. So thank you guys for being here. I hope to see you guys next time, or I hope to see you next time, everyone. And I'm gonna sign off. See you on Friday at 11